The following video is sponsored by DivineDavidHoyle. Bada bing, bada boom. Welcome back to Duck Augment, the Warframe series that highlights some of the less useful augments in the game, while also offering suggestions on how to fix them. Today, we will be taking a look at Piercing Roar, an augment for Rhino's Roar ability that makes enemies within 25 meters suffer a puncture proc that lasts 6 seconds, or the same duration as a standard puncture proc. It also allows Roar to deal 150 puncture damage in the radius when casting, affected by power strength. First, the positives. If you already knew or recently watched my WDR episode on puncture, you would know that enemies, or players alike, affected by puncture procs deal 30% less damage over the duration. For Rhino, this means enemies in range will temporarily inflict less damage against his iron skin, meaning on higher levels it can be used as a ditch effort to buy yourself some time before enemies take it down. In addition, the puncture damage, while weak, is enough to kill very low level enemies in addition to the buff to ally damage. Now, let us talk about the reasons this mod is on this series. For one, Roar is not recastable and lasts the full duration, meaning the minimal damage it brings cannot be spammed unless the player opts for a low duration build, which only makes Roar itself less useful for one thing. Second, the puncture procs do not last the full duration of Roar and simply last the same duration as a normal puncture proc. 6 seconds is a disappointingly short time and would require a near minimum duration build to take advantage of the proc in full by spamming Roar every 4 seconds or so, which just isn't worth 30% less damage from enemies. Furthermore, the puncture damage is very low and only effective against very low level enemies, and honestly, for how low it is, I question why it does any damage in the first place. Now I have 2 ideas to fix this mod, even though I sadly have low hopes for them ever doing so. My first idea is to change the mod to increase or add puncture damage to nearby allies' weapons so allies can pierce enemy armor. Roar will now grant allies 50% bonus puncture damage affected by power strength to their weapons. This bonus puncture damage will not be affected by Roar itself and simply add to the player's individual weapons base damage. On weapons without any puncture damage, such as an elemental weapon, players will simply gain the ability to inflict puncture procs on enemies without any corresponding puncture damage. My second idea causes enemy armor to be weakened, removing 15% armor and 20% shields from enemies for the ability's duration. Grineer enemies will pulse faintly yellow from the loss of their armor, and Corpus enemies will pulse a faint blue from weakened shields. Roar still cannot be recast, so this benefits from a normal duration build, but with good range as well, this will allow Rhino and his team to take enemies down even faster. This has been Duck Augment. Tune in next time where we will take a look at yet another Augment mod.